So guys, we're out here with Herme from CMH and we're out at his beautiful range in really tough shooting conditions. We took a gun, which you'll see the video on the Victrix 6mm Creedmoor. When I say that we're in tough winds, we're talking about winds that are 30 miles an hour. So they're very strong, gusting to extremely strong, as you can actually see now. And we're shooting a little 6 Creedmoor with a 109 grain bullet. We're shooting down range at 900 meters, almost 1,000 yards. The bullet is a 109 grain Burger with Lapua brass Vitivory powder. We're shooting at 3,020 foot.
3,020 roughly, yeah.
And Herme shot an unbelievable grouping there. The two bullets were almost identically on top of each other. And then with this heavy gas coming through, the other bullet just went through to the right.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to shoot as well. I had a better wind caller, so I shot also probably a 3-inch grouping, 3 shots.
Very good, very good. Yeah.
In this type of weather condition, it's impossible.
It's actually crazy, yeah.
Besides for having good components and obviously a good rifle, reloading is unbelievably important. And Herme, you're probably the best person that I know when it comes to reloading. So I gave you this gun less than a week ago and asked you to reload for the gun for this video today. How did you get it to shoot so consistently?
So what we started with, we load a few rounds, not high, not low pressure rounds.
Okay.
And we brought it to the range and we break in the barrel properly.
So how many shots would you take, give or take, for that?
The way we breaking barrels, it usually takes about 7 to 10 shots, but we shoot one shot, clean it properly, give it a good. If we look at the barrel, sometimes we polish it a bit after each shot, and then here by shot 7, 8, you'll see that the copper fouling basically starts to disappear when you clean. So then you know the barrel is nice and smooth, and you can start to shoot it.
And I think a lot of the time people say, listen, why do they have to break in a barrel? Even with the best manufacturers, when they cut that chamber, there's obviously tiny little microburrs that are left in that chamber. And what you need to do is you need to make sure that by using the bullet that actually breaks those down and you clean them off, that it's 100% smooth. And you'll feel it when you start cleaning your barrel. It actually becomes nice and smooth.
It's a bit rough in the start.
Yeah.
And not only in the chamber or in your throat area, but the rest of the barrel as well. With the rifling being cut and forged, there's always some spots that's a little bit rough, and then we clean it out and we polish it down. Yeah.
So perfect. So you go and you break in the barrel.
Yes. And it takes time. It takes you about half a day or 3/4 of a day to do it properly.
And a very sore arm and shoulder.
Yeah, but it's worth it in the end of the day.
Yeah, you only have an opportunity to do it once. If you don't do it, your gun might never shoot 100%.
There's a lot of guys that say you don't break in the barrel, you just shoot it and clean it. For me, I've got my methods. I've been testing it on F-class rifles and on competition rifles. And for me, that's the best way to do it, yeah.
Okay, so once you've broken in the barrel and you've got some sort of speed, do you use that speed to try and calibrate your load?
Yeah, what we will do is we'll take that speed, and from that I will decide where, out of knowledge, where this bullet shoots and what the rifle can do. We will load a ladder test, which involves you loading 0.2 grains increments from a lower load up to as high as you want to go.
Okay.
In saying that, we will shoot that ladder at 300 meters. We will look at where the speed dies down. In other words, where you have 0.4, 0.6 powder increments together and your speed stays basically the same or very close to the same. And you will see that 300 meters on the target, you'll shoot a flatter line. Then we will know that's the sweet spot where the rifle is shooting.
And just to explain...
And with the ladder that you load up, it always helps to see where you start seeing pressure signs. A lot of guys, they say, you use a program and that to see what PSI. For me, ladder test is the best way. Barrels differ. They all shoot at different pressures. Some are tighter than others. So in that, each rifle is got a personality of its own.
And the nice thing about that ladder test as well is that, as you say, where you can get that sweet spot where you can have some increments where it doesn't actually change, the water line's the same.
That's what that's what we're aiming for. The biggest sweet spot we can get.
And the nice thing for you guys as the shooters, what that means is that if you shoot and you shoot in different temperatures, people know that, listen, yeah, different temperatures will affect your powder differently.
Speed and what.
The relative humidity when you load your powders will affect different burn rates. And what that allows you to do is allows you to have a bigger margin for error without seeing a vertical jump in your impact of your bullet.
So the bigger the sweet spot, the better the rifle is to shoot in all conditions.
Okay. And I see that, listen, on the brass, I see you haven't turned the necks at all. Do you make sure that the brass is all the same?
With the Lapua brass, the necks are very close, and we expand all our we neck size, we full length bushing size our brass, and then we expand.
Okay.
With the expander afterwards to just get uniformity on the inside.
Okay.
So that's why we didn't turn the necks. And I mean, on those rifles, it's a factory chamber, so there's more than enough space. So it's actually, if you expand afterwards and the brass is as close as these ones, it's actually a waste of time to cut your necks.
Yeah, which is always a benefit. So if you're buying premium product like your bullets, your brass, and that sort of stuff, like you get from Berger and Lapua and the likes, then it actually allows you to
play around a bit, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got less issues to try and get everything exactly the same.
And then
And out of interest sake, your flash holes and your primer pockets, do you uniform them or do you leave them the way that they are?
Yeah, these ones are just the way we took it out of the case and loaded as it is. Yeah.
And listen, the groupings today, I have no doubt in perfect conditions you'll have a single hole grouping. But even in these tough conditions, we still had a ragged hole. Everything was touching.
What this rifle did there now it's amazing in this weather.
Incredible. Okay, so then you get to your ladder test. You've taken the lowest speed on your sweet spot,
and then we will play around with the jump a bit. Around that, we will usually start at 20 thou. Okay. I know those bullets like to jump a bit further, so those ones are jumping at about 70 thou.
Okay.
But we'll decide on a distance from the lands. We will load to that and work our ladder, and afterwards we will play around with the jump a bit, just to see if we can get the group as small as possible.
Okay. And the big thing about the jump, I've spoken to a lot of guys, and they seem to chase the lands and chase the lands. And that's something that's firstly can be dangerous if you don't do it correctly. I know some competitive shooters that actually soft seat their bullet.
In the land, yeah.
And that's because they shoot in tournaments maybe 600 shots and they will have some throat wear over that, and they make sure that it's all uniform. But the truth is that you don't have to be 10 thou from the lands or 20 thou from the lands. If the gun shoots at 50 thou or 100 thou,
you shoot it there.
You shoot it there.
What happened is with my F-class rifles, my 7 Shermans, we had a discussion one day here at the range with two of my fellow shooters, and I said that I'm gonna push back the 184 baggers also 70 thou and give them a bash, and we had a laugh about it, and it works bloody well. Yeah. So that's where I'm shooting my burgers now, 70 thou from the lands.
Yeah.
So that's like 1.5 millimeters away.
Yeah.
And it shoots great. So for me, if you can get your rifle to shoot a bit further away, I think it's much more forgiving, further away from the lands.
I agree 100%. And Herme, how do you actually measure the actual lands? How do you?
So yeah, we've got our own way. We take the action apart. We take out the firing pin. We take out the ejector and everything. What we do is then we seat the bullet long. We put it in. We feel that it's touching. We come out. We seat a little bit more. It is a process, and then you just keep on seating it deeper and deeper until you only see like little touching marks of the lands on the bullet. But that's like very fine. So we clean it every time with some steel wool, and then we check it.
And out of interest, do you use a 5-form brass or do you use virgin brass to actually test that?
You can use virgin brass. You can use anything. You can use any brass because
as long as the neck and the shoulders are engaged
as long as it's engaged and it's touching at the back of the action, then it's fine.
Okay.
And then another thing, after about 200 shots, you will definitely have to check it again, because in the first 200 shots, your throat area that you cut, it burns away at an angle, so you'll adjust accordingly.
Well, I hear many people say, listen, your gun is actually only really shot in after you've done around about 200 rounds through your firearm.
It depends. You get barrels, or let's say 80 or 90% of the barrels will pick up speed. So if you get to about 150 or 180 rounds, you will see that, let's say you were shooting 3020, you'll suddenly shoot 3090. Because of the barrel at pick up speed, then you must reduce your load to get back to your load. But that's we as competition shooters like to get about 150 to 180 rounds through our barrels as quick as possible.
Yeah.
To really get our load that we're going to shoot, yes.
Yeah, brilliant, man. Well, Herme, you can definitely know what you definitely, I can see by the shooting, you know what you're doing, huh? So thanks for taking the time and actually developing a load for this. You've made our lives very, very easy. Huh?
No, this rifle shoots, huh?
And also, listen, so if people want to actually, I know that you and I have spoken about this quite a few times, and you're saying that you're actually looking at maybe starting some training lessons and that to help educate. And listen, I remember when I started learning, my learning curve was very long and very costly. So often it's much better to pay a person who really knows what they're doing and learn from the professionals. Your learning curve is not dragged out, it's a nice sharp learning curve, and you can actually load responsibly, you can load competently, and obviously, you know, these things you have to do it 100% perfect. Otherwise you can lead yourself into some complications.
No, for sure. So with the facility that we've got here, yeah, we're busy working on we wanna do a course on reloading and shooting, a complete course. So it will be a 2-day course where you take a guy from working his brass up to doing the load development for his rifle.
And it will be, the nice thing, it will be his or her rifle.
Yeah, it will be his or her rifle. We'll take small groups and we'll take 2 or 3 rifles out of that group and go through the whole system with them, and we'll get that rifles to shoot like this one.
Yeah, brilliant, man. Herme, listen, I think I'll be one of your first students again.
Yeah, it's only a pleasure.
Herme, thanks again for everything. We really appreciate it. And that was an unbelievable day shooting. Learned a lot as always.
A bit windy, but I enjoyed.
But the nice thing is that even in really tough conditions, if I woke up and the wind was like this, I think I'd put my rifles away and go back to bed. But I'd happily come out. I know that, listen here, even in these small calibers, it's able to break some of this wind at 900 meters.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much.
Herme, thanks again, man. We really appreciate it.
See you. Thank you.